So today's video is going to be about something that's been affecting me lately in my life. Today we're going to talk about omens, and we're also going to talk about subconscious barriers. You may be thinking that those two concepts are very much non-related, but they are actually not related. They're just kind of interlinked in my life due to the nature of what I'm doing at the moment. That being said, it's still a good thing to brush up on both concepts, because usually one is going to be linked with the other, although not in the most obvious of ways. Subconscious barriers, for anyone who has watched Frater Xavier's video, should be very familiar. These are things that are going to keep you from doing things that you want to do. This can be either fear, or it can be your own subconscious sabotage, such as when you want to talk to a pretty girl, but you end up getting nervous and you never talk to them, or you end up making an excuse. It can also be when you get a raise, you end up spending all the money, so it's like you effectively never had that raise in the first place. Subconscious barriers are something that you need to overcome, and it is important to overcome them because if you don't know that they exist, how are you going to overcome them? So it's better to assume that you have a subconscious barrier, or it's better to assume that you don't have a subconscious barrier, wait and look and see what happens, and if you do have a problem, then it's a good idea to assume you have a subconscious barrier and proceed to tear down that wall. Now, the reason it's important to understand this is because of the second part, which is omens. Omens are a very, very interesting thing in the occult, and we usually see them as the outside world being used to teach you a message or to tell you something that you need to know, something that is important for you. It's often in the form of a synchronicity. A good example is the other day I was walking out to lunch, and as I was walking out, I was thinking about something, and I was thinking specifically about my daily practice and the nature of what I was doing. And as I was walking out, I saw a very large black bird yelling at me. And I looked up at the bird as I'm walking to lunch. I see the bird. The bird looks at me, flies to another roof, and starts cawing at me. It was a large black bird. And I think to myself, that's weird. Okay. I don't think anything of it. I think, okay, well, that's just a thing. That's going to be a thing that's just going to happen. It's okay. So I continue on, and there's a lot of blackbirds. And as I'm walking to lunch, because I have a normal spot that I go to for lunch, I'm walking, and all of the birds stop and look at me like I was being judged. It was a very interesting and surreal experience, and I also had recently some very interesting computer problems, which, after I acknowledged something that might have been going on in my spiritual practice, may or may not have been the kind of thing that they were trying to tell me, which was kind of amusing, to be honest, not gonna lie. So, how do these relate? Well, I'm glad you asked. I've recently started tearing away at a subconscious barrier that I had that was keeping me from something which I thought was very fundamental. And I was assuming that this subconscious barrier, I knew I had some kind of barrier, but I didn't know the specifics, and this was related to a very specific thing. So what ended up happening was I ended up trying to take down this barrier, and I'm like, okay, well I'm going to try to take down this barrier. It'll be, what's the worst that could happen? And out of nowhere, the next day, a buddy of mine ends up trying to help me with some information I needed regarding said subconscious barrier. And this led on to a little bit of a path of self-discovery where I kept getting some very interesting music playing in my musical playlists, which I hadn't listened to in years. They were songs that were basically telling me very specific things that I had not known. And it is at this point that I need to preface that I don't know everything, unfortunately, which is amusing because if anyone knows me in more private, if you know me from outside of this channel, you'll know that I have a very, I don't have a large ego, I just play the part of a person with a very large ego very well. And so, swallowing my pride, on the other hand, is something I do not like doing. I'm not a fan of swallowing my pride, but it ended up leading me into a very interesting case where I needed to swallow my pride. And I'm currently doing that. And swallowing your pride is not the most pleasurable thing in the world, but it's a thing you need to do every so often. This is kind of a rambly video, and it's shorter than 10 minutes. I don't care. These videos are supposed to be short, and I like making them short because I can make things that are short very, very quickly. Have a good day. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment in the description below. If you did not like this video, please leave a comment down in the description below. If you like this video again, please leave a comment. Subscribe if you really enjoyed this video, and hit that like button. If you also would like to support me on BitChute, there will be a link in the description. If you'd like to support me on YouTube, there will be a link in the description as well. Take care.